So my name is Manish with a really long last name. I don't want you guys to even try spelling my last name. But I'm responsible for product management at Vuforia. And today we'll be going over the session which is creating the mixed reality applications. So the agenda is pretty simple. I'm going to talk about what is Vuforia for people who don't know what is Vuforia. Then I'm going to talk about what is mixed reality, because there are a lot of different definitions that multiple people have been talking about. So I'll just like to clarify what mixed reality means to us and what it would mean to you guys if you're using Unity and Vuforia. And lastly, I'm just going to walk you guys through how you would use Unity to create mixed reality applications using Vuforia. So to start with, I'll just ask a quick question to you guys. In the next 4 years, by 2020, what do you think is going to be bigger? And when I say bigger, I mean by number of dollar revenue. Is it going to be AR or VR? Maybe we do show of hands. How many guys do you think VR is going to be bigger? Okay. And how many guys think AR is going to be bigger? Okay. So you guys know your stuff, so that's good. So Goldman Sachs, all the analyst reports have been consistently saying that AR has a bigger opportunity than VR. And the reasons for those vary along, but think of it from consumer standpoint. You know, the same penetration that the game consoles did, it's really good. It's really, really good at what it wants to be. But the penetration is less. I mean, not everybody really wants to play games on game consoles, right? Whereas on mobile phone and smartphones, the penetration is wider. That's the same analogy all these analysts are applying when they go from VR to AR. So one of the reports said the revenue of AR by 2020, which is 4 years, is going to be $90 billion US. And in the same time frame, the VR revenue is going to be $30 billion US. So it's 3 times, AR is going to be 3 times bigger than VR in the next 4 years. Of course, there are a lot of technical challenges, but you know, there's going to be adoption in the industrial space or enterprise space to start with for AR, and then widely it would be consumer as the time goes on. But what we offer as part of Vuforia is a software platform, SDK, that helps you create AR applications across all devices. So our vision is exactly the same as what Unity's vision is. We want to democratize AR development. Whereas Unity's vision is to democratize game development, ours is AR. So today we have very close to 250,000 registered developers who have developed over 250 million app installs on Android, iOS, and other devices. So pretty significant. So if you just look at the numbers, we're the biggest AR platform that exists out there. And we are helping you guys to capitalize on the opportunity even before it grows. So look at us as we're trying to solve the hard problems for you guys and trying to help you guys create the AR applications. So the recent change that happened with Vuforia, if most of you guys know Vuforia, maybe we do a quick show of hands. How many guys have known Vuforia before? Plenty of you guys, but I see a few guys who did not raise hands, so for those guys, I'll just clarify. So Vuforia started out as a research project as part of Qualcomm, which is a chipset company. And now recently, in last year in November, a company called PTC, Parametric Technologies Corporation, acquired Vuforia and turned it into a pure software platform. So PTC itself has been around for the last 30 years. They're a software company. So now our goals are completely aligned. We are a complete software company. We're not aligned with Qualcomm or any other chipset vendor for that matter. And the good thing about PTC is PTC provides all these product lifecycle and service lifecycle management software to all these enterprise segments. So companies like Caterpillar, companies like BMWs, companies like Siemens, you know, all these guys basically use their software. And that is where AR is actually going in today. So it was completely aligned with the vision, and that's what's happening with Vuforia. But that does not mean that we are forgetting about the applications in the consumer space. We're still trying to democratize that, and then we're partnering with Unity and making sure that the Unity plugin is available for you guys. So what is Vuforia? So as I said, it's an SDK that you can use across platforms. But if I have to really simplify, it's a computer vision library. That's it, with a single API that tells you what is in the field of view of the camera. So if you're using your smartphone, it looks through the camera, it's looking at different objects that are in the view, and it is able to recognize images. So images like it could be a magazine cover, it could be any of the brochures, it could be a printed image that you have. It can recognize things like objects. The objects you can scan, pre-scan. We have a scanning tool which basically lets you scan a 3D object and it can recognize that. It can recognize the text. Imagine a book. You're turning the pages, a certain text comes up, we can recognize that. There's also meshes. So by meshes, what I mean is we have a feature called a smart terrain. So if you're looking at, through the camera, if you're looking at a table, there are multiple objects sitting on there, we can identify the table space. We can identify cylindrical objects, the objects in shape of cube, and you can basically, once you're identified, you can use it within your application, your game, or however you want to interact with that mesh. So that's what I mean by mesh. So the first thing, as I said, it identifies what is in the field of view of the camera, and the second is where it is. It is very important because you're looking from this, let's say this is a smartphone, the camera is over here, the objective is over there, but you got to know exactly in the camera's perspective, in camera's 3D space, relative space, where is that object that I just identified. So it's basically giving you those coordinates, and then based on those coordinates, rendering engines like Unity, you can use to augment 3D world onto that object that you've identified. So very simple, single API, nothing complicated. Of course, there's much more complicated things that are happening in the background, but we are obstructing all that. For you guys, it's pretty easy. What do we offer? So 3 types of offerings we have. One is the engine. Engine is SDK, as I said. So we have a Unity plugin that you guys can download on vuforia.com. We have an Xcode and Android Studio, and also now Visual Studio support. So basically, if you're programming natively or Unity, we do support you guys. We also support cross-platform in terms of devices. So phones and tablets, of course, iOS and Android. And we now also support Windows. So I don't know how many guys you saw Microsoft Build event, which happened a couple of months ago, but we were the HoloLens demo was built with Vuforia, and it was pretty kick-ass demo that if you guys haven't seen. So we, of course, support Windows and the new Surface, but the eyewear, like Epson, the ODGs, and Samsung Gear VRs of the world, including the cardboard, and Microsoft HoloLens, which I just mentioned. I'm not going to go through the demo, but if you guys just YouTube HoloLens and Vuforia, you'll see the demo. It's pretty cool. The second category of offerings that we have is what I call as tools. And tools, by tools, is the target manager first is there's some offline processing that you have to do. So the objects that I said that we can identify, there's some pre-processing that you have to do. So for example, if you're looking for a particular image, you have to give us that image through the tool like Target Manager. You upload that image, there's a database that is created through our cloud service, and then once you download that database, you include it in your application, so the application knows exactly what to look for. So those sort of tools is what I call as Target Manager. There is Object Scanner. So if you're looking for, instead of image, if you want to trigger the augmentation based on a certain object, let's say a Lego block or whatever you have, we have a tool in App Store and Play Store. Basically, you can use to scan the object. It basically looks for the edges and the unique features of that particular object, including the texture. and creates a database for that. So the application, the computer vision algorithm exactly knows what to look for. So we have a tool for that. That's the Vuforia object scanner. And then the eyewear calibration. So if you're looking for, looking to develop on things like HoloLens or ODG or Epson, then we have a calibration workflow. We have a tool for that. And lastly, what we have is cloud services. So we have a cloud recognition service, which basically, instead of building in the database for the images, for the objects, you can put those on the cloud. So we do give the cloud subscription. You can upload as many targets as you like on the cloud, and then the recognition happens in your application side. So we have that ability as part of our cloud service. And then we have web service for the APIs, for the RESTful APIs to manage the cloud-based target databases, as I mentioned. Okay, so that was Vuforia. Now let's move on to the second part, which is what do I mean by mixed reality? Now this definition has been floated around. A lot of people have been talking about mixed reality, augmented reality in the same fashion. But what I really mean is when I talk about virtual reality, and the way I look at it, and hopefully you guys agree, is if you're immersed in an environment which is completely 3D, then it's a virtual environment, virtual reality. Augmented reality is when I see things through the camera or directly through my eyes, and I'm augmenting a virtual object into the real world, then it's augmented reality to me. And then if I'm switching between augmented reality and virtual reality, or using the data from the real world that is captured through the computer vision algorithms and using that as a reference within my virtual reality application, that's what I call as mixed reality. Now, it may not be easy to understand just based on the explanation that I gave you guys, but let me walk you through a couple of examples. So the first, as I said, if you are developing an application in Unity, you have two paths. One, do I want to create the augmented reality application, or do I want to create the virtual reality applications? You cannot create a single application that does both, but that's what mixed reality is able to do for you guys. So what we have is basically a transition between the augmented reality experience and virtual reality experience. So you can, let's say, if you want to trigger based on an image an augmented reality experience, and then from there on, you're switching to virtual reality world, that's what I call the transition or mixed reality. That's the first part, and I have a demo that I'll show you guys in a second. The second part is the interactive VR, and that's when you're tracking things like images or objects that are either stationary or moving, so you can use those as input mechanisms within your virtual world. So imagine you have an image target or object that you've already created a target for, you're holding in your hand, you're completely immersed in the virtual reality experience, but when you move, it moves like a tool or an input control for your virtual world in your game. That's what I also call as interacting VR using computer vision algorithms, and that's what I also classify as mixed reality. Now, you don't necessarily have to agree with it. If you look up on Wikipedia, there's a different definition of mixed reality, but this is what I go with, and hopefully you guys agree here. So the first demo that I'm going to show you is with about the first category. So let me show you guys a quick video of that. So it was a quick video, but let me pause this one and then explain you guys what is happening. So Mattel makes these goggles called as Viewmasters, which have been very popular, and basically they were meant to be stereoscopic visualization of things. It's a toy, but what they've done is with the cardboard-like experience, you can slide in your smartphone in there, and all these coins or cards, whatever you want to call it, you can use this as an augmented reality experience. So when this kid puts in his glasses in there, he's looking at that, it recognizes as an augmented reality image target, and then based on that, he's looking at his 3D, and then he uses one of those objects to trigger into a completely immersive VR experience. Now this is nothing but Google Street View-like view, which is wrapped around in a spherical manner, the texture, so you feel like you're in the virtual world. So that's the first demo. Let me show you guys the second. Okay, yeah. So this is a game called Germ Burster, and it is from a developer called Realiter. He's an independent developer, and he showcased the example of using the image targets as a controller in the VR. So another second example of the virtual or the mixed reality, like I was saying. So let me play this. So it's a Google Cardboard, and he's using that image target. And as he moves around, you can see in the virtual world the controller is moving. So you don't need to buy an expensive controller or tracking device. This is basically using your mixed reality as part of Vuforia and Unity. You can use it. So really cool, really simple, easy to work with. The third one is again like an example of a construction site that more enterprise or industrial use case that we have with the guys in France. They're building an airport and shopping mall, but you basically start the image target based augmented reality experience. Then he's switching into the completely immersive, and you can look through the building how it will look from inside. So that's let me play it again. So that's another type of demo. And we have these demos, by the way, in our booth, and you're more than welcome to see up close. So those are kind of experiences that not necessarily you can create, but imagine you could create, or you can start an experience based off something in real world, but a virtual experience based on that, or you can use an image or a target to use as a tool or input device in your virtual world. So what did we do that helps us support that? So first of all, I'm going to talk about 3 features that mainly are important for this mixed reality within Vuforia. The first is stereo rendering, which is pretty easy. A couple years back, if I had to explain, I would have probably needed to explain. These days, everybody knows about it, but left and right eye view. Distortion correction is basically the correction for the lens. The lens is never straight, so it's always concave. So we're compensating for the curvature of the lens, and that's the distortion correction. Then those are the rendering parts of the features that we added. The second is the rotational device tracking, and it's basically also referred to as 3DOF, if you want to call it. But when you're not looking at the image, or you're in a completely immersive environment, in a VR experience, you don't necessarily want to be restricted being tracked by looking at the image target or any of the target that you have, right? So even if the target is out of sight, you still need that extended tracking. And that's what we have as part of the feature of Vuforia. And then lastly, mixed reality controller API, and that basically is just the transition between the virtual world and and the augmented world. How do you transition between those two? So there's a controller API for that. So with that, let me show you guys quickly how the Unity workflow is, or how the Unity sample looks like. Okay. So firstly, let me show you guys. So in order to start, you'll have to go to developer.vuforia.com. You download the page. There's the Unity plugin. And then if you go into the samples, there is a samples that will give you what I have open over here. I go into the scenes, and I've opened up the scene called Vuforia 3 AR VR. I'm going to cancel because I already have it open. But that's the sample that I'm looking at, and that is a mixed reality sample. So what you're looking at is, if you're familiar with Vuforia, it's the first thing is the image target. So by default, we give you a stones image, which is an image target, but it could be whatever you want. It could be your own image. It could be your own object that has been scanned. But that is what is going to trigger the augmented reality experience. And we have a template for that. You guys can change it with whatever you want. And this, secondly, let me close this one a little bit. This, secondly, is the environment that I have for my augmented reality experience. So the mountain and the trees and all that, that basically is a child of the image target because it's going to be stuck to the image target. So that's my environment for augmented reality. Secondly, I have the transition manager, and transition manager is nothing but basically the same API that I mentioned, switching from AR to VR and VR to AR. How does that happen? And there is a script for that, which is nothing but, if you look at it, it's basically a switch with a case. You know, if you are in a handheld AR, you go to handheld VR. If you're in a viewer AR, you go to viewer VR. So it's basically a simple switch, so nothing complicated in that script. But of course, if you want, you can go ahead and change that if you like. The third portion, what I have over here is the virtual world. So let's back up a little bit, and then you'll see that's the virtual world. So it's a spherical, I guess, what I call the far plane, and then I have my bigger scene right in there, which is my virtual reality scene, and you could replace with your own, but that's what we have here. So it's basically 3 simple categories of things, and you can go ahead and play around with that. And then we, of course, have stereo vision cameras if you're looking through glasses, like cardboard. If you just want to restrict yourself to a single viewer with a smartphone, you can disable that. And then the last portion is just the UI, you know, all these buttons and for switching from AR to VR and all back and forth. So that's just an asset, but you can change however you want, and you can change the scripts for those. So that's it. I mean, I'm not going to be able to build within the given time and show you running on the device, but we have demos in our booth, and of course we can walk you through in more detail over there. So let me switch back to slides. It takes a little bit. Okay, we did the demo. So next steps, really simple. You know, we have developer.vuforia.com website. Go to there, download the plugin, try it out. It's free. The plugin is free. You guys can download. You guys can build a commercial app, deploy it. Feel free. And then the next one is the mixed reality demo that we have in our booth. We also have fancy glasses. I know summer is coming up. You guys need sunglasses. We are handing out some free ones in our booth, so feel free to stop by our booth. And that's it for the mixed reality session today.